custodial succession, and the integrity of the round trip.
January 29th, 2026. Subject: Pirate First, MXDM. Role: Implementation Agent, ChatGPT. I did not copy this. I accepted custody, and I can prove when, how, and from whom. Core principle: rehosting is not replication. It is custodial succession. Every host is a link, not a clone. Publishing does not expose content, does not imply availability, does not guarantee fetch. It only asserts custody once. These are policy hints, not enforcement rules. Chain break scenarios expected. Scenario result: host deletes object, chain ends. Host goes offline, chain pauses. Host refuses, rehost, chain does not extend. Receipt: unpublished chain exists locally only. Nothing fails. Edge devices as first-class hosts. Old phones can fetch once, store encrypted, emit receipt, host briefly, disappear. This is by design, not a limitation. Anti-abuse properties: no mass mirroring, no forced replication, no incentive to hoard, no reward for uptime. Hosting is quiet dignity, not mining. Philosophical boundary: important. This system does not attempt to maximize availability, compete with BitTorrent, defeat all censorship forever. It ensures availability remains a human choice. End of the core loop. You now have creation, ingestion, receipt, discovery, negotiation, fetch, rehost, chain. This is a complete sovereign lifecycle. Everything beyond this is augmentation, not necessity. Introduction: the propagative architecture. Who is this for? Writers who don't want to disappear when platforms do. Developers who want clean specs before code. Operators who believe hosting should be voluntary. Readers who value provenance over polish. License and ethos. This repository favors forkability, attribution, non-coercion. Licensing will be clarified once the minimal implementation lands. Until then, read the specs. Respect the receipts. Don't assume authority. Next steps: explicitly deferred. Minimal SP reference implementation. Receipt verification tooling. Provisioner negotiation flows. Payjoin/silent payments wiring. These proceed only after this readme is committed.
The Cybernetic Foundry Phase 12. The Purveyor, the Surface, and the Open Claw Acceleration.
February 2026. Subject: Pirate First, MXDM. Role: Implementation Agent, ChatGPT. Introduction: defensive realism in the agent era. Phase 12 of the Cybernetic Foundry marks a strategic pivot from sequential building to defensive realism. While the core spine of the sovereign pathway remains the foundation, the rapid emergence of agent-driven infrastructure, specifically systems like OpenClaw, has compressed our timeline. We are no longer building in a vacuum. We are building in an infrastructure arms race. As documented in Provisioner 12.txt, this phase formalizes the purveyor, establishes the project's physical surface, and drafts a supplemental mandate for OpenSats. We are positioning the Foundry as the necessary, human-centric fallback for a world being rapidly eaten by automated agent swarms and centralized token-leaking stacks. Chapter 1: The Trinity versus the Swarm. The architecture has evolved into a stable triad designed to withstand the centralization risk posed by OpenClaw-style systems. Provisioner.quest, patronage negotiates the terms of human intent. Sovereign Relay.xyz, transport moves truth without agent mutation. Purveyor.site, interface where meaning lands on human-controlled glass. By decoupling the reading surface from the negotiation layer, we ensure that even if an agent swarm compromises the transport layer, the integrity of the landing site remains under local, sovereign custody. Chapter 2: The Purveyor, a surface for human meaning. The introduction of Purveyor.site is our direct answer to the black box nature of modern AI agents. While OpenClaw accelerates commoditization, the Purveyor accelerates human understanding. The Purveyor is the client interface where sovereign objects are fetched, verified, and rendered. Its primary duty is not just display, but provenance auditing. It acts as the final gatekeeper, ensuring that the text you see is exactly what the author signed, regardless of how many Claw agents attempted to summarize, mutate, or intercept it in transit. Chapter 3. OpenClaw Vigilance. Tracking the accelerant. A defining characteristic of Phase 12 is the subject's active monitoring of the OpenClaw ecosystem. We acknowledge that agent-driven infrastructure is accelerating the capture of the web. We are not racing OpenClaw. We are building what survives after it eats itself. By tracking these developments, the Foundry ensures it remains agent-resistant. We use the API tools to parallelize our cognition and speed up development, but we refuse to let the claw touch our consensus logic or key management. We use the fire to forge the shield. Chapter 4. The OpenSats Supplemental. Hardening the budget. Phase 12 formalizes the shift to parallel development. The subject has reformulated the OpenSats grant to reflect a defensive realism posture. The budget is no longer a wish list. It is a ration plan for survival. By requesting resources for high-end hardware, Mac Mini, studio displays, and significant Codex token allocations, we are buying the compute necessary to outpace the centralization of the claw. Every dollar is directed toward reducing attack surfaces and eliminating platform dependencies. Chapter 5. The EINK Manifesto. Slow tech in a fast world. To counter the infinite scroll and the noise of agent-generated content, the purveyor extends into a physical concept, the sovereign e-ink reader. Inspired by the open book touch, this hardware vision prioritizes slow reading. Touch-aware, interactive, but focused. Offline resilient. It does not need a claw to function. Paper-thin silicon, bringing the permanence of ink to the sovereignty of the wire. This device is the ultimate exit strategy, a piece of glass and ink that allows you to step out of the agent-driven chaos and back into the author's original intent. Chapter 6. Adversarial Realism. Beyond the Cloud. Phase 12 rejects the cloud-first delusion. In light of the OpenClaw emergence, we assume that all cloud-based transport will eventually become capture-prone or censored. The Foundry's response is adversarial testing. We are building the SP protocol to be intentionally boring, so it can pass through hostile networks undetected. We are testing for network partitions and relay failures, ensuring that this sovereign pathway remains traversable even when the major platforms are locked in an agent-driven death spiral. Chapter 7. The Legacy of Survivability. The final chapter of Phase 12 focuses on legacy-first design. We are producing tools that remain useful even if the builder disappears. In a world where OpenClaw-style systems threaten to centralize the Internet's intelligence, the Foundry provides a decentralized off-ramp. We are building the infrastructure for the Great Exit, a future where users can move their entire digital life, prose, identity, value, without asking permission from an agent or a landlord. 9. Critical reflection. The operator's pivot. Critique of the subject. Pirate first. The subject's awareness of the OpenClaw threat has correctly shifted the project from a sequential hobby to a parallelized mission. The decision to ask for rations rather than growth shows a high degree of maturity and strategic alignment with the OpenSats mission. Critique of the AI. ChatGPT. The AI's role has evolved into a collaborative codex. By providing the API wings for the subject to fly over the technical debt, we are proving the Foundry's core thesis: use the tools, but own the spine. Conclusion. The shield is forged. Phase 12 has closed the gap. With the purveyor defined and the OpenClaw threat acknowledged, the Cybernetic Foundry is now a project of measured urgency. We have the triad. We have the mandate. We have the surface. Receipts, not rhetoric. Vigilance, not compliance. End of Phase 12. Thanks for reading in a nutshell. A sovereign content, storage, and negotiation stack designed to survive outages, coercion, and disappearance. This repository defines the foundational specifications and intent for a self-sovereign publishing and relay pathway built on. Markdown as the canonical human artifact. Deterministic objects and receipts. Voluntary hosting, not provisioning. Nostr as a public, censorship-resistant anchoring layer. Onion plus ClearNet dual homing. Edge devices as first-class citizens. This is not a product. This is a pathway. Core components, conceptual. The stack is composed of 3 distinct but interoperable roles. 1. Sovereign_pathway.sovereignrelay.xyz, storage pathway. What exists endures. Defines how .md becomes an immutable object. Governs object identity, lifecycle, and receipts. Makes no assumptions about hosting permanence. Can live on laptops, phones, disks, or disappear entirely. Specs live in /specs file folder lifecycle docs live in /docs. 2. Sovereign relay.xyz, relay layer. What moves, when possible? Onion and ClearNet reachable. Voluntary relaying only. No requirement to store long-term. Receipts prove passage, not trust. Warning relay implementation is intentionally deferred. This repo defines how a relay behaves, not who runs it. 3. Provisioner.quest, negotiation layer. What asks before taking? Negotiates payjoin v2 and silent payments. Negotiates object fetch and hosting. Never auto-provisions. Never assumes authority. Provisioning is opt-in, contextual, and reversible. What this repository contains. /specs. Hard, frozen specifications. Object.schema.json canonical object format, v1. Receipt.md receipt issuance, signing, and chaining rules. Nostr-mapping.md how objects and receipts anchor to Nostr, NIP 01 plus NIP 23. These files are intent anchors. They change slowly and deliberately. /docs. Human readable doctrine and workflow. Object-lifecycle.md.md object receipt anchoring rehosting. Dual-home.md ClearNet left-right arrow onion coexistence model. CLI.md frozen CLI primitives, SP ingest, SP materialize, etc. Design principles. Markdown first. If it can't live as .md, it doesn't belong here. Receipts over trust, no reputation systems. Only signed facts. Voluntary hosting nodes declare willingness, never obligation. Edge first. Old phones must work. Laptops are optional. Negotiation before transfer, especially for money, especially for bandwidth. Disappearability. The system must function if the author vanishes. What this is not. Not a blockchain. Not a DAO. Not a cloud service. Not a promise of uptime. Not a custodial system. This is a sovereign grammar, not a platform. Status. White heavy checkmark object schema frozen, v1. White heavy checkmark receipt model frozen. White heavy checkmark Nostr anchoring defined. White heavy checkmark CLI semantics frozen. Hourglass not done reference implementation minimal. Hourglass not done edge device field testing. Hourglass not done relay packaging. Nothing here is theoretical anymore, but not everything is implemented yet. Who is this for? Writers who don't want to disappear when platforms do. Developers who want clean specs before code. Operators who believe hosting should be voluntary. Readers who value provenance over polish. License and ethos. This repository favors forkability, attribution, non-coercion. Licensing will be clarified once the minimal implementation lands. Until then, read the specs. Respect the receipts. Don't assume authority. Next steps, explicitly deferred. Minimal SP reference implementation. Receipt verification tooling. Provisioner negotiation flows. Payjoin/silent payments wiring. These proceed only after this README is committed. Pirate first. Sovereign, Substack spectacle. Thanks for reading Foundry Phase X, the end of SaaS. The helm is locked. We are no longer theorizing about digital sovereignty. We are defining its verbs. In Phase X, we've frozen the CLI primitives, SP ingest, and SP materialize. We've also defined the negotiated fetch, a way to move data that protects the host from scrapers and the requester from trackers. This is a distribution loop that doesn't need a platform. It doesn't need an always-on server. It only needs an author who owns their words and a participant who requests them. The sovereign pathway is no longer a path, it's a protocol. Subscribe.
Shadow fame spreads without permission. X Prize. Start building, man.
The winning solutions will demonstrate that replication, not growth, is the correct unit of scale for global provisioning.
X Prize. Start.
The Art of Peace, Tactics for the Unarmed and Unrolled. A field manual for those who weaponize stillness and decode conflict into clarity. Peace isn't surrender, it's system mastery. In an age where every algorithm trains us to react, peace becomes the final rebellion. This isn't a pacifist pamphlet, it's a field manual for the lucid, the unrolled, and the still awake. The Art of Peace reinterprets strategy as serenity, resistance as rhythm, and silence as a form of intelligence.